Team, are we ready to get started?
Let's rock.
We're ready if you are.
Let's rock and roll. Okay. Well, hey guys, I'm super excited to be with you. For those that may not know me, my name is Robert Redmond. I'm the COO of Redmond Growth Consulting. I run the company along with my dad and honestly my amazing team. I feel like we all run the company together. And really stoked that I get to present today. I don't always get to present, but I'm passionate about what we're going to be talking about today, and excited to show you guys really a sales system, a marketing system that doesn't really require any ad spend at all, doesn't really require a lot of money. It just requires execution. And so happy to get into that. But the first thing before we do, like we always do, business wins of the week. If you've had a win, just be thinking about a win over this past week, something good that happened in your business, something good that happened in your personal life. We believe in starting these meetings with the power of positive psychology. May be uncomfortable, but we want to hear how you guys are winning. And if no one has any wins, I'm going to make it awkward and start calling on you guys. So please don't make me do that. But right here, I have a picture, before we get into it, I have a picture of an awesome couple I've worked with for a number of years. This is Mike and Julie Mathis. And they run a company called Affordable Building Concepts based in the Nashville, Tennessee area. And for the very first time in their entire history, and they've been around for about 15 years, they are having their highest revenue and most profitable quarter than they've ever had. When they started with us, they were at 2.5 million. They are now at about 4.5 to 5 million in total revenue. Unfortunately, they started to hit that point, but their profits were really inconsistent. You know, one month they'd have a great profit, other month they'd have a great loss. We're now at a point where through building our team, really getting our marketing and sales processes down and running the profit first system, that they are consistently at a 22% net profit this year. They're in a situation where Mike and Julie were able to buy, they're in their like mid 60s, they were able to buy a vacation home in this epic retirement community. It's like retirement, like Disneyland in Florida. And they're in a spot where they're able to leave their business for 2 months at a time and manage their team remotely, maybe spend about 10, 15 hours a week while they're in Florida, and their business still runs in Nashville without them. And so I just love sharing their story. They're having awesome wins. I want to open it up for maybe 2 or 3 of you guys. What cool things are happening in your world, in your businesses that you'd like to share today? Any first takers?
Got one.
Nicholas, what's up, buddy?
Hey, how's it going? So I'm a handyman. Normally we were on average we'd be hitting about $20,000 a month in revenue. Last month, we did 30,000 revenue. So we did about 50% more than we normally do, which is exciting, and I see it in the bank account, which is twice as exciting.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a huge revenue boost that starts moving the summer.
Woo, woo, woo.
That is
Let's
amazing.
go.
So Nicholas, I have not met you yet, but I'm assuming you're the owner of the company Nico's Handyman Service.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, dude, I've heard so many good things about you, and I just want to brag on this guy. Again, I have not met this guy. I think he's working with Travis or
Caden.
Okay, he's working with Caden. But I've heard about him. Nicholas, how old are you?
I'm 20.
He's 20 years old, okay? And he's running a handyman business with a lot of handyman people. It's been difficult to kind of work with them in the past, but Nicholas is just running our systems. He's consistent. He's implementing stuff, and he's 20 years old. and he's beginning to get over $20,000 of revenue a month. And Nicholas, I've talked to Caden about moving you in the flooring space. He's going to begin to transition into flooring, and we're going to see those revenues increase. But I just wanted to brag on you, dude. It's so good to meet you, and I just love hearing about your success stories. Again, we typically can't get, for whatever reason, we typically can't get handymen to like implement our systems. Like I don't know what it is, but we've thought about saying, hey, we can't work with handymen anymore. But you are proving them wrong. Way to go, dude. I just love hearing stories of young entrepreneurs. Yeah. Anyone else before we get into it here? Any big wins that you'd like to share with the group today?
We'll share a win.
Yes, please.
Let's go, Noe.
Yeah, Noe.
Yeah, we shared a win. So we never had Google reviews. So our coach Travis put us on a thing about reaching out to all our past customers and so forth. So we started getting Google reviews, and we booked a job based on them reading our Google reviews. We had Google reviews on Angie's and so forth, but we started kind of implementing all that. So this month now we've got over 34,000 in painting jobs. We're booked all the way out until May the 15th now. So that's fantastic.
Wow.
I'm an old school guy. You know, I always thought we didn't need any of this. He always kept telling me we need to get Google. We need to do this. We need to do that. I'm still a tape measure and paper guy, and things are changing. So apparently these Google reviews work.
Wow, dude, I love hearing that. Yeah, it's not complicated. It's not this complicated system, but there's a few key things that if you do consistently, it can make a life-changing impact to your business. So love hearing that. He's booked out for a month, high revenues. Love hearing that. Anyone else? Is there any last minute? Hey, I want to share something before we get into it. Going once, going twice. Okay, let's get into it here. All righty. So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the saying that you may have heard us talk about before. It's called the Dream 100. And this is a system we really believe in. And it's a system, again, like I said earlier, that doesn't really require any additional money, you know, unless you're having to pay your team to execute it, but doesn't require any additional money. Anyone can do it. The only thing that it requires is organization and consistency. And we're going to get into what that actually looks like today. So I'm going to be covering what is the Dream 100? What is this thing that I'm talking about? What's needed to execute the Dream 100? How to execute the Dream 100? And how could I use the Dream 100 for my business? So if you give me just 1 second here, I'm going to pull up. Okay, here we go. Okay, awesome. I'm a very big believer in notes. I've taught these systems for 6 years now, but I still got to have my notes pulled up to make sure I'm covering all the right content with you guys. So, okay, so today we're going to be talking about how to make the Dream 100 work. Let's first start with what is the Dream 100. So the Dream 100, it comes from this guy named Chet Holmes. That's this man right here. He unfortunately passed away. Rest in peace, Mr. Chet Holmes. But you can read about the system in his book called The Ultimate Sales Machine. I would encourage everyone to write down that book title and order it. If you're a reader or a listener, it's been voted one of the top 10 most recommended sales and marketing books of all time. We use a lot of systems from this man, from this book, and I would encourage you guys to look into it. And so Chet has this quote that I really love. And it kind of simplifies my world as a business owner. And he said, mastery isn't about doing 4,000 things. It's about doing 12 things 4,000 times. Success in business, success in the system isn't about necessarily always having, you know, brand new branding every 6 months. It's not always necessarily having the most creative, brand new innovative marketing strategies and constantly moving from thing to thing to thing to see what works. What success really looks like, what mastering your business really looks like, is recognizing what 12 things do we need to do over and over and over and over, and have it be boring, and do it over and over and over 4,000 times to see success. The Dream 100 is one of those things. So what is the Dream 100? So this is a photo of Chet Holmes with a guy named Charlie Munger. If that name rings a bell for anyone, Charlie Munger. Charlie Munger is the business partner of Warren Buffett, a name we're probably all familiar with. Warren Buffett at Berkshire Hathaway. Chet worked for this billionaire, the older gentleman standing in the photo, Charlie Munger, and he was selling advertisements for Charlie's small newspaper at the time. Through executing this Dream 100 system, they went from 19th in the industry to number 1 in just a number of months, in about a year and a half. And basically the story goes, how was the Dream 100 created? So Charlie gave Chet Holmes, the guy who created the system, he gave him a database of 2,200 different advertisers. And Chet Holmes's job was to make hundreds of cold calls to win their business. Hundreds of cold calls wasn't really working for Chet Holmes. He wasn't really seeing any success. And so what he did is he looked a little bit deeper. He did something called a market analysis to find, hey, who are the best people that I should be advertising to? Who are the people that are buying the most advertisements in the industry? And he found that 95% of the market that was purchasing advertisements in newspapers and magazines, 95% of the market was purchased with only 167 companies. And so what did he do? Instead of trying to go after 2,200 companies, he started just focusing on these 167. And he would write them notes, and he would send them gifts, and he would make follow-up calls multiple times a month. But basically, he narrowed his focus to the top ideal and likely buyers in his industry. And instead of trying to reach all these different people every so often, he was able to hit these 167 on a weekly basis, on a consistent basis. For the first 4 months of the system, they got no traction. They had no success for the first 4 months of operating the system. But what Chet did is he remained consistent. He had something we're going to talk about here in just a moment. He had discipline. He had determination. And in month 5, they closed Xerox, very large company Xerox, for the biggest deal in the industry. And over the next 5 months after that, they closed 28 more of these dream buyers. Within 15 months of doing this system, they were able to double the sales of 9 different divisions in the organization just running this strategy. And so I love this quote. Chet Holmes says, the Dream 100 strategy is the fastest, least expensive method for doubling your sales. This one strategy has doubled the sales of more companies than any other. And we're going to be talking about how every single business that's on this call can utilize a system. And in our breakout rooms, we're going to start actually working on the first initial steps to make the system successful.
Robert, if you don't mind, I would like to kind of share some testimonials of clients who have implemented the Dream 100.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually didn't include testimonials on my presentation because I was afraid that it was going to take too long. But you go ahead, Nicole. What are some quick wins on this?
Well, I will make it quick. So Whole House Cabinetry, they do cabinets. They're based out of Minnesota. We implemented the Dream 100 them towards home builders. They are booked out for the rest of this year through the work of the Dream 100. She also told me, Nicole, I used to rely on these 2 home builders. And if one of them stopped giving me work, we're SOL. We're out of luck here. But now, because of the Dream 100 and Google, and she has consistent lead streams that if one got taken away, she's not dead in the water. Another really good example is
That's amazing.
It is Surface Renew, which is one of Jonathan Rood's clients. They did $1 million in bathtub refinishings alone last year through the Dream 100. They targeted property management groups and landed quite a few of those accounts. Bathtub refinishing, $1 million, bathtub refinishing alone. The Dream 100 works 100% of the time that you work it.
Yeah, that's a lot of bathtubs. $1 million of bathtub refinishing. Oh my gosh. But most people who are refinishing bathtubs wouldn't think of this system. They would think, I need to spend more money on ads. They would think, I need to spend more money on SEO. And those things are really important, and those things really work as well. But there's a way to increase your sales without having to do those things. I want to talk to you about what's needed to execute the system. And the first thing that's needed is you've got to have a PhD. I'm sorry. I'm assuming everyone has a PhD here. PhD? No? I thought contractors had a PhD. No, I'm just kidding. What is a PhD? Pig-headed discipline and determination. I didn't coin this term. This came from Chet Holmes, and it's at the beginning of his book, Ultimate Sales Machine. Guys, this strategy is so simple. In fact, it's so simple, most people can't take it seriously. I want people to check themselves right now. Your attitude towards what I'm talking about here. Hey, is this legitimate? Hey, is this going to work? Hey, are they just hyping us up? This is so simple, most people can't take it seriously. They can't believe that the efforts put forth behind such simplicity would ever do anything for their business. And therefore, whenever that belief happens, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. I don't know why this is, but when running this strategy with other business owners, people, they can see the vision at first. They can see how it may work for them. But after 2 or 3 weeks of running it and getting a handful of no's from prospects, people just get like too busy, or they just give up on it. And they're like, this didn't work for me. But again, I love that testimonial gave $1 million in bathroom refinishing sales from just this system alone. There's no such thing as too busy. There's no such thing as a lack of planning, a lack of there's no such thing as too busy. There is such a thing of a lack of planning. There is such a thing of a lack of focus. There is such a thing of a lack of discipline and a lack of commitment. I want to tell everyone, do not start this system unless you are committed to seeing it through for at least 3 months of consistent weekly effort. We heard a Chet Holmes story that took him 5 months to win Xerox. We're not going after Fortune 100 companies here, And so it took him 5 months to win a Fortune, I don't know if they're a Fortune 100 company, but Fortune 500 company. It took him 5 months to reach that. I think we can reach the companies that we're going after a lot faster, but do not start this unless you have the determination to see it through for at least 3 months. The next thing here is that we have to have our target audience defined. We're going to be working on this in the breakout room today. And this is where people get lazy, and it's understandable. It requires not just running and gunning to the next call and operating the business and doing all that we have to do. It requires actually sitting down and thinking, what are the qualities of the people I would love to do business with? What do those people look like? What are their pain points? What are their needs? What are they looking for from a business like mine? What kind of customer do we win big on? What kind of companies are they at? What kind of jobs do they have? What kind of roles are they in? And so you have to define your target audience. Who are we wanting to go after that we could win big on? Who are our dream customers? And we're going to be working on this today. And then the next thing is that you have to have a defined and prepared way to execute the Dream 100. We can't just put a list together and say, we're going to do this, and then just let's start making calls. And next week, oh, we forgot to make calls. Let's send emails. No, let's prepare. Let's think about ahead of time. What do we need to do to get in order to execute the system? So how to execute the Dream 100? What's the first step? The first step is building a qualified list. like I just got done talking about, like we're going to work on today in the breakout rooms, who is your perfect customer? We need to have our ideal and likely buyer defined. In order to determine who we're reaching, we have to define who our best buyers are. Who would be our perfect customer? Is this defined in your business? I want you to ask yourself that. Do I know off the top of my head? Can I be able to say, if I called on you, hey, Robert, here's the ideal customer we're going after. Here's what kind of neighborhoods they're in. Here's kind of the income levels they have. Here's kind of the jobs that they have. Here's the profile of the customer I'm going after. That's going to be the first thing we need to define is who's our perfect customer. And we need to put effort here. This is something that even I in Redmond Growth Consulting overlooked for a number of years. You know, I was just like, let's go after whoever I can win business with. You know, and at first when I was starting the company with my dad, when we were building the organization, we were going after all sorts of people. We were going after attorneys, and we were going after IT companies, and we were going after all these different people. And then we started defining our ideal and likely customer. And that's what led us into contractors. So you got to have your ideal and likely customer defined, and you got to build a qualified list. I'm going to show you maybe what that looks like in a moment. The next thing here is that we have to determine our ideal outreach method. And we have recommendations here, but ultimately what really matters is the consistency. Consistency is better than the occasional reach out. A consistent call to your ideal prospect list, a consistent email on a weekly basis is much more effective than sending an email and giving a gift and giving a handwritten note and doing all these things once a quarter. So the first thing is, what can we consistently do in our business? What do we have the capacity to do towards the Dream 100? We need to ask ourselves, what can we do so our targeted prospects hear from us on a weekly basis? And ask yourself, realistically, don't overcommit, but can we make time for this? And what time can we commit to doing this on a weekly basis? How can we reach these people? What would be effective? The next thing here to think about is how can we be consistent, but how can we also wow our prospects with a reach out? One of the examples that Chet Holmes gives in his book, The Ultimate Sales Machine, is he was helping another company run this system. And he was helping, the company that he was helping was like a IT support company, very large IT support company. So what they did is they began to send their Dream 100 list Rubik's Cubes. They sent these, their targeted list Rubik's Cubes in the mail, and they said, puzzled by how to solve your IT challenges, let us solve those for you. And again, no one's looking for a Rubik's Cube, but I'll tell you that if you got a Rubik's Cube in the mail with a note like that from a business, you're going to remember that business a lot more than you're going to remember the 10 cold calls you've gotten in the past week. So we want to think about, hey, where can we be consistent, but how can we also wow, differentiate ourselves, and impress our prospects in the process? When it comes to building a qualified list, this is what we're talking about here. So at Redmond Growth, we have this list here all ready to go. You can just ask your coach for the list. Hey, I saw the Dream 100 list in one of your group calls. Can I get a copy of that? We can give you that. But this is where you'd want to start. To do research on what is our ideal and likely buyers, to define that profile, and then beginning to put those companies here. And then you can see in these other columns, you can see the action steps. You know, hey, we're going to send everyone a text on our list. We're going to send everyone an email. After that text and email, we're going to call everybody. Hey, I don't know if you got my text and email, but after that, we're going to try to schedule a call. If that doesn't work, we're going to send gifts like the Rubik's Cube thing. We have a prepared and defined way. We have a qualified list. We know how we're going to execute this system. That's what we need to have. The next thing that we really need to do is we need to build a schedule, assign ownership, and execute. Here's how you make the system successful. After you have defined your ideal and likely buyers, or I should say, after you've determined that you have a PhD, you know, pig-headed discipline and determination. After you define your ideal and likely buyers, after you build your qualified list, after you determine how you're going to reach out to the list, what I would really encourage everyone to do is to begin blocking off in your calendar and any additional team members' calendars that's going to be assisting you when to execute the Dream 100 without letting things get blocked over it. This is the best way to ensure that the system runs consistently. Is we're going to say, okay, we know what we have the determination, we know who we're going for, we have the list, we know how we're going to reach out to them. Now let's be sure we are consistent. For 3 months, block it out. Whoever's involved in this system, block it out on the calendar. Don't schedule over it. That's how you can ensure this thing is going to get done. Part of what this does is it's this concept called top of mind awareness, TOMA. This is kind of a marketing concept to stay top of mind. These people have never heard from you before. If we consistently reach out to them and we're selling painting services, we're selling construction services, we're selling plumbing services, electrical services, whatever it may be, by that consistent reach out, what happens? We begin to stay top of mind in these people that we're reaching, so that when they reach a point where they're unhappy with their current sub, or they reach a point where they run into a major problem that requires your service, with your consistent reach out, you're the one that comes top of mind. And the next thing here that you got to remember, which is part of top of mind awareness, is an emotional progression. Chet Holmes talks about how people have an emotional progression with the Dream 100. Whenever you reach out for someone for the first few weeks, they're not going to be interested in talking to you. Like think about if someone reached out to you. You've got a million things going on. You're running a business here. Your people that you're reaching out to are in the same position. But what happens is there's an emotional progression with the consistency. At first, they're like, who the crap are these people? I don't have time for this. Then they're like, this is so annoying. These people keep on reaching out to me. And then with the consistency, they say, you know what? I got a good night's sleep last night. I'm going to check these guys out. What are these guys all about? They keep on reaching out to me. And then that's when the door opens. That's when you can get in. And that's when the real sales process begins. They check you out. Then if we have a good offer prepared, then we get in the door with that offer. We explain how our services work. They give us an opportunity. We do well in that opportunity. And now we just want a new customer. So there's an emotional progression. Prepare your emotional state in running the system for this emotional progression. Know that in the beginning, it's going to be hard. Don't fight that. Just accept it. It's going to be hard. Of course it's going to be hard. They've never heard of you. They don't know who you are. Accept it, remain consistent, and this will work. The last thing to make this system work, review results and make improvements. In your weekly team meeting, when you're running the Dream 100, review the results. How many people were we able to reach? How many appointments did we set? How many presentations did we do? Who are we not reaching? What's not working in our process? Then let's refine the system based upon those results. If we're trying to do a call every week and our calls aren't reaching people, after maybe 3-4 weeks of consistency, we've got to find a new method to get people's attention. Maybe it's a LinkedIn message. Maybe it's an email. Maybe it's sending the gift like we've talked about. Maybe it's getting a handwritten note to people. Whatever it may be, you want to refine the system based upon the results. Don't just sit there if it hasn't worked and say, it's not working. Redmond Growth, they're wrong, it's not working. No, see what's not working and refine it. Review the results regularly. If something isn't working, pinpoint what isn't working and make improvements there. Real quick story with Redmond Growth. In our sales team, we have really good consistent sales right now. But we're trying to increase that more consistently. Right now we bring on around 15 new clients a month, and we really want to just get 5 more. We really want to hit 20 new clients consistently a month. So what I began to do is I began to look at our sales system. I began to have other people look at our sales system, and I was able to find that our closing rate, whenever our sales team gets on a growth plan call, they actually do a really good job. I don't need to focus on that part of the sales system. That part is set. I'm able to pinpoint where we need to place our focus and make improvements there. We want to apply that same process to this system. Okay, how could you use the Dream 100? So some of you may be thinking, hey, I could see how this works. I could see how this could work for my business. Maybe some of you are thinking like, Robert, I still don't like get it. Like, Robert, I want to get it. I still don't get it. How could I use this for my business? The first thing that you could use this for is B2B sales. In a B2B environment, it's sometimes difficult to advertise online because if your ideal and likely buyers are fairly niche, if they're like fairly like well defined, if there's not many people out there, there's going to be a small pool of people to go after, which doesn't make sense to do online advertising for. You know, if there's a really, really small pool of people, we don't want to do online advertising for a really small pool of people. So what can we do? We can run the system. In a B2B sales environment, that's the first place that I've seen the system be the most effective. Another way that you could use the Dream 100 is for larger contracts. I believe everyone on this call today, if you're in construction or if you're in a service business of some kind, you can use it to pursue larger contracts, commercial contracts, maintenance contracts for the HVAC people in the wintertime. You know, let's not have slow sales in the winter. Let's reach out for maintenance contracts. So you can book reoccurring service contracts, commercial contracts, or maintenance contracts with this system. Another thing that you could use the system for is systematic referral relationships. This is how Service Renew uses the system. Whenever Nicole was just talking, Nicole was talking about how they reached out to property managers. You know, they reached out to real estate agents, all these different people. Property managers don't need a bathtub refinisher themselves, but guess what? Property managers are working with the kinds of people and have the kind of properties that need bathtub refinishing. So we can use the system for systematic referral relationships. Who are the people that are already working with the people we want to work with? Who's already working with our customers that we want to go after? What would happen if we became the #1 referral source for 5 or 10 of these companies in town? What happens if we had 5 or 10 companies that we became the #1 referral partner for the service that we offer for those 5 or 10 companies? Would that not make a dramatic increase on your sales? Would that not allow you to bring additional trucks just to service those referral relationships? Use the system for systematic referral relationships. And then another way that you can use the system is to elevate your company recognition. I've seen a lot of people use the system to go after influencers. One of my best friends here in town, he runs a podcasting business. And what he began to do is he began to run the system, and he began to target well-known, really celebrities and thought leaders, and began to offer his podcasting services to them. 2 weeks ago, this guy texted me a picture of him on a Zoom call with Pete Carroll, the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. Does everyone know who Pete Carroll is? One of the most legendary football coaches of all time. He sent me another screenshot a few months ago. He was on a Zoom call with Julia Roberts. Like, he just literally began using the system, began DMing influencers, began reaching out to them, began contacting their agents, and it elevated his company branding to now he's one of the premier podcaster production companies in the country. So we can reach out to people that would elevate our branding. We can reach out to notable companies for partnerships or associations. We can reach out to people that are hosting popular events that we could participate in as well. There's a lot of different ways to use a system. Think about how you guys are going to use this system for yourselves. This is the last quote that I have, and I actually got this from Bryce when Bryce last presented on this topic. And this comes from the Ultimate Sales Machine, Chet Holmes. He said, "Mastery is not about being more special or more gifted than anyone else." You know, this is like, I love this quote for me, because like I grew up, my brother has like a high genius level IQ, and like I'm just like barely above average, you know? And so it gave me a lot of confidence because I'm like, I don't have to be more gifted. I don't have to really be more talented. In order to gain mastery, all I need to do is to be disciplined and determined. That's how I can really change things in my life. That's how I can really change things in my business. That's how you can really change your business with this system. So I appreciate you guys hearing me out today. what I want to do is I want to get into our breakout rooms. In our breakout rooms, we're going to start defining our ideal and likely buyers. We're going to take some time to say, hey, what does our profile of a customer look like? I'll share with you, what the profile of our customer looks like, maybe to generate some ideas. And then we want to define, hey, how could we use the Dream 100 for our business, and how are we going to take action on this? So, Bryce, if you can bring us out to breakout rooms, we'll take the last 20 or so minutes here to meet up, to start working on the system. Thank you guys so much for your time today. I really appreciate you guys giving me your attention.